So I meant to do my previous vlog should have been about the cash wrap at the POS station of your grab and go retail store. And instead I had something else in mind, which I just did a vlog about a concept that I'm going to launch here in a couple of weeks in New York. I wanted to just get that out of my system and use it so I can keep it fresh in my memory. More importantly, we need to discuss the cash wrap, where people pay. Nothing to me is more important than understanding how to maximize your sales in a fast casual or grab and go business. The customer comes, hi, honey. Just doing a quick vlog. Thanks a lot. Sorry, I got distracted. I don't have a script here and I'm not reading off an outline. So this might be a little boring and verbose, but bear with me. I think there's a lesson in here somewhere for you. Okay. The cash wrap. There's a science to it. The first science to the cash wrap is that it has to look professional and organized. There can't be anything on the counter that doesn't have something to do with the transaction. You've got to be extremely militant about this with your team. People can't have their iPhones plugged in. You can't have clipboards and paperwork and staple guns. It can't look like an office and it can't look messy. People are distracted enough in life that when they walk up to your POS station, there shouldn't be so much garbage on your POS cash wrap, the counter. We're talking about where people pay. There shouldn't be so many ridiculous things there that a person just gets confused and wants to block everything out so that they can pay and get out. Watch your own behavior when you shop throughout the day and see what your reactions are to a good POS station versus one that's cluttered and messy. The POS station science begins with the clarity to the customer where they're supposed to order and pay. It's based on where you put it in the store. It's sometimes very difficult to figure out whether or not your POS station should be in the front of the store or the back of the store. It really depends on how all the categories work together. It depends on what you have to, let's say you decide you want your POS system to be in the back of the store. Well, what are you going to keep in the front? Are you going to have seating? Are you going to have your refrigeration? Well, what happens if the store is empty without customers? The store can look depressed. And if the cash wrap is all the way in the back, the customer may be neglected and they have to journey all the way to the back to answer a question. And sometimes that doesn't work so well. The problem with putting the POS station in the front sometimes is it's outside of the flow of the sequence of how people will shop in your particular store for the layout. So there's give and take in how you set these things up. It's never just black and white. You know, each store, based on the shape, the size, and all the different things that you're selling, would determine where the best location for a POS station is. But wherever your POS station is, it has to be clear to the customer when they enter into the store that there's somewhere where they're supposed to check out. And that's why I really believe in having a prominent POS station. I'm not a big proponent of those tiny little iPads. You know, they're dinky, they look very pop-up-y, and also for a lot of consumers, especially if a store is very busy, people might not actually notice where the transaction is supposed to take place. So what I would recommend that you do is that when you build your POS station, if you are using, most POSs now are use, iPads and those type of devices now, pads. So pick the one that is the most prominent looking. It's great to have a screen that also faces the customer so that they can see the transaction and so that you can make announcements to them. If it's a really small iPad, maybe you could have something custom built to prop it up, not so that it's too tall so that, a smaller staff member will be hidden behind it. It's really important that for the shortest people that you have working for you, that they're able to be seen. It's not probably good retail when you have that look when you come into a store. So your POS station should be prominent, and if need be, you can have a small sign hanging from the ceiling that says pay here, order here. do it with good taste. It doesn't have to look bad. You may not need it. So let's talk about the items that have to be on the counter in order to make sure that you maximize sales. The first item, I always say this first, is you have to have a secure tip jar for your staff. It has to be positioned in a place where it can't be stolen and where your staff should not have an opinion about where it goes and moving it around. It should most likely be located really close to the POS screen in a prominent place. It's nice to decorate a tip jar so that it doesn't look too serious. It could be playful. You can put slogans on it, etc. Make sure that people can see that money goes in there. It's a reminder. And the reason why we do that is because, generally speaking, our front of house staff are getting paid, somewhere between minimum wage and, a couple of dollars above that. Here in New York City, minimum wage is $15. In other cities, it's less. But we want to make sure that we can attract and retain the best possible staff. And so you wouldn't believe how important it is that you let your staff earn a little cash. If you don't, and they leave and you're constantly turning over people, it's going to cost your company more money. People don't show up, they call out, and they quit, they get a better job. And then you're in a constant state of organizing your schedule, and you're also constantly training people. So it does actually cost you money. And so a tip jar is actually an important feature in a prominent space next to the cash wrap. Now, I have a philosophy about where people's attention goes when they're standing at the POS, the point of sale, the transaction. The thing that they're looking behind the person who's ringing them up is extremely important. I've had stores where just because of the size of the store, right behind the person is a 3-compartment sink, and it's not the most attractive thing in the world. And it's certainly not appetizing. So really be thoughtful about what you place behind your staff. It's a good location to put soup kettles. It's a good location to have, a refrigerator that you can put really bright decals that offer something. It's a great location to have nice menu boards. But don't just put, don't let there be a black hole behind somebody, because it's a waste of retail. Your customer is looking forward and they're going to see what's right behind your team member. The field of view that people generally look at when they're checking out is very narrow. If an item is outside of, say, a 20-degree right and left view, people tend to not look at it as an impulse item. If it's something that they came in and wanted, like a bag of cookies, your popcorn or hot sauce or whatever those extra items are on the counter, and it's off to the left by 5 feet, they're going to find it. But that's not dynamic retail. That's not the retail. When I mean dynamic, is a person comes in for a juice and they impulsively buy, a chocolate bar or your energy bar, or let's see what else we put on the table, a bag of almonds. So what we're looking to do within that narrow 20-degree right here, I'm looking forward, and it's even tighter than my peripheral. It's really tight. If a person can see a nice sampling of different items that are complementary to what they're buying, not competitive to what they're buying. So in other words, if I sell juice in the bottle and I have a case that has $12 juice, and right on my counter I have something, an ice chest that has $6 juice, a person might come in and just take that, and it might cannibalize the larger sale. So the items that are impulse items are really based on what your categories are and what innovation that you have. I mean, I could tell you a few things that work, but you don't really need me to tell you, and it's too specific. What you can do really is go into a 7-Eleven, go into a pharmacy, a big chain, go to a supermarket, a big chain, someone that's really professional, Whole Foods, and look how they place impulse items in the different configurations they have for the different type of checkouts that they have. And it's very scientific. It's not haphazard or not really, really highly considered, because it's such a huge part of your business. To be able to get someone to spend an extra $3 on something complimentary, it really has a big impact on your business. So that's your job, is to figure out what those impulse items can be for your particular business. An impulse item could be anything. In the juice business, it's probably not going to be an $18 item. It's likely going to be a snack of some kind that people will throw into their backpack, their purse, you know. And again, it really depends on your particular fast food business, what that item might be. So we went from the tip jar to the impulse items. Those impulse items are critical. Those impulse items are generally your best selling impulse items, the ones that sell. The big mistake people make is they place items that don't sell well in key places, hoping to boost sales. Generally speaking, that never works. There's an old expression in retail: you feed the rich and rob the poor. Meaning, if an item sells well, you put it in the most prominent place and you make it the most visible. If an item is a poor seller, guess what? It gets stuffed on the bottom or the 16th shelf. Get it out of the way. So you reserve your prominent locations for the best items. The next thing that you need to have on your POS within the customer's field of view is most likely some type of display. I like to use custom-made stainless L-shaped picture frames where I can put decals right on top of them that announce things that are happening, like a holiday special or a new smoothie or something that's coming out, some kind of program that I want my customers to see. And I can reinforce that on my menu board. I can reinforce that message in my window. I can put that on my social media. If I have a POS station display facing the customer, I can repeat. But if I'm launching a new product and I want it to be successful, I have to repeat the message several times. It's got to be in their face for a period of time. Usually the period of time is about 30 days, but it changes from business to business. So that plaque, that's not not just the digital board that's on the digital screen facing the customer, is usually a static screen, and it gives you another chance to announce something. The next thing that you need to have is you need to have a location also within the field of view of customer. This is important, where you are going to launch new items, whether you have a refrigerated case in front, whether you have no refrigeration, it's just a counter and it's a item that doesn't need refrigeration. There has to be a prominent space where you put new items. Great. The next item that has to be on your POS station, and I think this is an important one, is the item that a lot of people don't realize the value in, is gift cards. So the gift card is really important because the gift card is another impulse item potentially. And, I've been asked by other retailers, do I have to have gift cards that have on the card a specific denomination, or should they be just say gift card on them? I think that you can't leave too much to the imagination. I think gift cards that are priced between $5, $10, $15, and $20, you want to have a nice selection. It really makes it easier for the customer to decide what they're buying rather than saying, oh, let me get a gift card and just put whatever I want on it. So you could test 3 different gift cards to see what customers respond to. You could have, I would say, a $5 gift card, because that's a great impulse item that has no cost attached to it until the customer redeems it. And there's probably going to be a percentage of people that don't redeem it or that lose it and don't care. But the bottom line is that you're giving away a gift card. Someone's loading up $5 on it, and it is an impulse item. So I'd go $5, maybe $15, and then maybe have one that's just blank with no denomination on it. And it's really important that you think the gift card thing through in terms of just having gift cards with no gift envelope. It's not really like a complete thought. And I think, again, it's not great service, and it leaves someone like me, for example, with too much to do. I'm not going to bother. If I'm going to buy a gift card as an impulse just to bring it home and say, okay, here, honey, I got you a gift card, if I have to go and hunt for something to put it into, I'm probably not going to do it. So gift cards are a real important consideration even for a small brand. My suggestion is first and foremost, try to do it in a sustainable way, avoiding single-use plastic as much as humanly possible. The card will probably be made out of plastic, but the holder can be made out of something else. And try to make it out of recyclable plastic. Spend the extra money on it. And if you do spend the extra money on something that's sustainable, make sure you make a big deal about it right on the card. So I covered the items that I think are really important to have at the cash wrap: a gift card, a tip jar, new items, best-selling items, and announcements. Am I missing anything else over there? Am I missing anything else? Am I missing anything else? No. I think those are the main things. I might think of something afterwards. I do advise you that when you're building your POS station, that you consider that the distance between the guest and the person serving them. Now, this is obviously pre-COVID thinking, because today it might be different. Obviously, we're going to have plastic shields if we're building a new store or retrofitting an old store. But the idea, if we have a POS countertop that is too deep, it really makes the experience a lot less intimate, and the guest is likely to not get the same quality service or to have the same experience. So I would say that the maximum depth would be 36 inches. Now, 36 inches, a portion of that has to be comfortable for the average person to put a backpack or a purse when they come to pay. That is a common behavior that people are going to do anyway. So that little area where people are standing, about 18 inches should be left free. And that means that there should be an overhang. If you're going to have a shelf underneath that has product, you don't want people to put their bags on top of product and ruin your displays. So when you're setting up your POS displays, you really have to consider all these details. How do people transact there? Where do people slide the products that they're buying? Are they sliding it to the left? Are they sliding it to the right? If that's the case, I think that it depends on how big of a store you have, obviously, and it depends on whether or not you have so much traffic where you have two POS systems. But generally speaking, you don't need more than a foot to 18 inches of space for people to load up their products so that someone can scan them. And that's that. And I think when you think about all the different things that a person needs to have at a POS station, you really do have to consider the front side of where the staff member is standing should always have the exact number of drawers that are needed to keep the stationery, pens, staple guns if needed, rubber stamps, business cards, extra print tape. Are we actually still using printer paper in the year 2021? I don't know, but give it some consideration. And I would definitely say that if you're retrofitting or you're building out for the first time, the way that I would do it today, and I've done it many times, is I go to my kitchen companies that fabricate stainless steel, and I fabricate a stainless steel a chest of drawers, because I don't have to build anything in the store. The labor is a lot cheaper than building it on site, and I can have that thing made while the rest of the store is being built. Then I bring this thing in. Let's say this thing is 36 deep by 36 wide, and let's say it has 6 drawers. All I have to do is put it in place, clad it with some plywood, then I can put my finish look, whatever that's going to be. If it's going to be marble or wood or whatever you're going to make your drawer out of, it's a really good idea to fabricate those things. The reason I don't build them out of wood is generally wood falls apart, it's hard to clean, and by the time you're done building something, painting it and making it, with all the things that we have to make, it ends up actually costing more. The cash wrap guts, I would say, the drawer system that I build, the companies that I use here in New York, a system like that usually costs me around $1,000 to $1,500, depending on how elaborate it is. And I have a consideration for everything on those drawers: where electrical cables will go to plug things in, where holes go to, route wires. To me, the customer loves a clean POS station. No wires. Wires are minimal. They're very, very clean. I like that because it looks professional, but it's also very sanitary. You don't have to have, juice splattered all over wires and dust clinging to sticky juice. It really gets unsavory to have that kind of stuff. So you guys can have a lot of fun with this stuff. And if I ever get around to it, I'll post pictures of cash wraps that I built in the past. I got lots of pictures of that stuff. So anyway, thanks for listening to me, and write me some notes in the comments field on other subjects that you would like for me to talk about. And I appreciate it. Thank you.